A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannaike. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Trade unions expose true intentions behind water tariff hike. Bandula Gunawardena heads to court over budget proposal. Villagers faced with wild elephant threat struggle to deal with wildlife officers. Major earthquake strikes New Zealand.
National Water Supply and Drainage Board has decided to impose the price increase in the water bill from the 1st of December. The prices were increased as per a gazette notification issued on the 2nd of November. Details of this story coming up later on in the news. Today, UPFA parliamentarian Bandula Gunawardena said that he will seek legal measures against a budget proposal.
On the day of the budget proposal, the finance minister had issued written orders to banks informing them to be ready to do transactions with the system of payments. This had also been issued to departments including customs. We will immediately go to the Supreme Court regarding the matter of Section 390 of the budget, which is a proposal that completely undermines trust in the country's financial system. No, prices of goods in a country is a general rate. It will not reduce anywhere in the world. If that happens, the whole world will collapse. In 1977, a yard of cloth was 2 rupees and 12 cents, and a coconut was 70 cents. A packet of milk was 4 rupees and 80 cents. Mr. Bandaranaike pawned his ancestral mansion for 15,000 rupees for the election. This is the price of goods. No government will ever be able to reduce it. That was not what I meant. Students at faculties live with 2,500 rupees and I had to increase that to 3,500. So I said that a person can live without dying with 2,500. So increase to 3,500 and now it has been increased to 3,500. So just because I made the statement for the sake of the students in the country who are suffering, it is unfair to use it against me for political mudslinging. I have not made a detrimental statement, have I?
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna has expressed concern over delays in meting out punishment, even when rogues and the manner of their thievery have been exposed. Speaking in Colombo today, JVP Politburo member Wasantha Samarasinga had this to say.
When the manner of the theft, the people involved in the theft and the amount stolen have all been exposed, what should be done next? We should not do anything since everything has been exposed. This is what the government is doing. This is what Ranil Wickremesinghe is doing. They know how the theft was carried out in the central bank bond scam. Persons in the government, including Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and several ministers, were involved in it. The governor of the central bank, his son-in-law, the chairman of the tender board, P. Samarasiri, and the tender board itself were involved in the theft. The money stolen through this theft, amounting to 20 billion rupees, is with perpetual treasuries. The loss to the central bank was 55 billion rupees. Money is being laundered now. They have purchased 10% of NDB Bank. They are starting up a newspaper company and a TV channel. Money is being allocated for 6 newspapers, a TV channel and a radio station. An Arak company is being built in Nila Valley. If the current central bank governor wishes to uphold his integrity and respect, he must start enforcing decisions to stop such theft. The current chairman of the tender board is the same P. Samarasiri that was involved in this large-scale fraud.
Finance Minister Ravi Kannanaike says the government will not waver on its commitment to make Sri Lankan roads safer by instilling a greater sense of discipline and respect for traffic rules. A statement issued by the media unit of the Finance Ministry reads that according to police reports, so far this year nearly 3,000 people have been killed in traffic accidents, making Sri Lankan roads among the most dangerous in the world. Responding to a demand being made by private bus operators to abolish the proposed minimum traffic fine of 2,500 rupees, Minister Kannanaike said that the move was aimed at saving thousands of lives of motorists as well as pedestrians. 2016 has been a year of shocks in the global political arena. What does this mean for the establishment of political order and how can we extrapolate global events in Sri Lanka's context? This week, the Newsfirst editorial focus is on politics under siege.
The News First editorial.
Politics under siege. What a week it has been. American and indeed global politics was turned on its head when business tycoon and TV star Donald Trump won the race to the White House. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi struck at the heart of corruption with surgical precision by banning 500 and 1000 rupee notes in a political masterstroke. And our own good governance government unveiled its budget for 2017. That a total political outsider could become the President of the United States will be analysed and reanalyzed for years to come by the political pundits who, for the most part, got it wrong in the first place. What is obvious is that Trump didn't just defeat Hillary Clinton, he defeated the pre-election polls, a heavily partisan media, and a massive, well-oiled, well-funded political machine, the party system. Not just the Democratic Party machinery, but also his own Republican Party. As Newsfirst predicted in our editorial in the past weeks, it is an entire political order that is being challenged and rejected. The feeling of apathy people have towards how they are being governed crosses party lines. And we repeat this today. Political parties are representing people's aspirations less and less. Another man who was voted in on the crest of a wave was Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi. His bold stand against corruption sent shockwaves across the world and a clear, unambiguous message to the public, politicians and business community alike. I intend on remaining accountable to my people. While his currency ban is being hailed as a glorious step in the right direction, India's poor and middle class seem to have been left abandoned in the commotion. And unless Modi steadies the ship quickly, his masterstroke may backfire. Still, one must admire a man who has the courage of his convictions. It is in this backdrop that the Yahapalana government unveiled its budget for 2017 last week. Touted as a budget of the people, one must carefully consider this in light of the IMF framework that overlords the peripheries of the Sri Lankan economy. To the present government, turning its back on the IMF just isn't an option, considering the repercussions of such an attempt. And so, walking a political tightrope, that is the national government, and under the close scrutiny of the IMF, the finance minister and the government were not left with much wriggle room. That's the cold, hard truth. And even within this tight squeeze, it managed to make some proposals that bordered on the ridiculous. For instance, whose idea was it to give away tabs to advanced level students? It is exactly this type of harebrained thinking that results in a loss of public confidence. Teach our students to code, teach them to develop apps, teach them computer programming and help them unleash their own creativity. Simply giving away tabs achieves nothing, except of course to rack up a Herculean bill. The public are becoming increasingly wary of politicians asking the public to tighten their belts while sparing no expense on themselves. People will not shy away from paying higher taxes, but leadership for such austerity measures must come from the very top. The people are tired of paying for economic crises created by, more or less, the same people now attempting to fix it. 1 year ago, Hillary Clinton was well set to win the presidency of the US. She believed winning the Democratic nomination would be a cakewalk. It wasn't. Bernie Sanders fought Clinton to the wire and nearly took the nomination away from her by bringing together millions of small donors in a movement that mirrored Trump's campaign. She pulled through by a whisker, but was obliterated by Trump, who tore through traditional political boundaries. In his book, Political Order and Political Decay, Francis Fukuyama speaks of the mechanisms of accountability as a pillar of political order. Today, that pillar is under siege by the people of the world, enraged at the indifference shown by a decaying political system. Accountability means more than simply allowing citizens to choose and discipline their rulers by way of periodic elections. Simply being voted in is no guarantee of being tolerated by the public unless substantive accountability is followed. A modern government must immediately respond to the interest and common good of its people. But in a system where long-standing, powerful political institutions have been subject to political decay, this may be just too much to expect. Our own politicians and parties would be wise to take heed. The people elected a new president purely on an anti-corruption platform. But is that trust and promise being upheld today? What happened in Sri Lanka on January 8, 2015 then Brexit, and then Trump, and soon perhaps Marine Le Pen, are all harbingers of a new political order, one that shows scant regard to party politics and demands absolute accountability.
The News First editorial.
In face of concerted opposition attack and the people's impatience with the long queues at banks and ATMs that are the fallout of the currency ban, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave an emotional response today, saying people had entrusted him to fight corruption and he was ready to do it and face the consequences. Speaking at an event held in Goa, Modi said that he left his family and home for the nation.
In his speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi defended the bold decision taken by him, saying that a key step was taken to help the honest citizen of India by defeating the menace of black money. Prime Minister Modi said that the people chose a government in 2014 and they expect so much from it to free the nation from corruption. While noting that he was not born to sit on a chair of high office, Modi says that he left everything in his belonging, his family and home for the sake of the nation. Prime Minister Modi reminded the people of India that these steps taken were not a display of arrogance and that he understands the problems of the people. While admitting that he is ready to face any punishment the country will give, Modi assures to deliver a corruption-free India. Modi goes on to say that this suffering is just for 50 days and after cleanliness, not even a mosquito can fly. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also went on to assure the people of India that he will expose corruption since independence and if he has to employ 100,000 people for this, he will do it. Finally, in his speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi requested the people of India to cooperate with him in this program for 50 days to ensure a corruption-free India. Since Tuesday, when Prime Minister Modi announced the scrapping of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes as a strike against black money and terror funds, the response had been largely positive. But since Friday, as ATMs started running out of cash within hours and people waited for half a day at banks to exchange cash, the impatience mounted. Banks in India remained open today as millions lined up at branches across the country to exchange their demonetized 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. Police recovered high currency notes from parts of India days after the government's announcement. In Patiala city of India's northern Punjab state, police seized high currency notes worth nearly 25 million Indian rupees after they intercepted 5 vehicles during routine checking yesterday. In a similar incident, railway police in Vadodara district of western Gujarat state arrested a man with 2.5 million Indian rupees.
Taking a look at a top story this evening, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board has decided to impose the price increase in the water bill from the 1st of December. The prices were increased as per a Gazette notification issued on the 2nd of November.
The amendment in prices will affect all domestic water users, excluding Samurdhi beneficiaries. The tariff for 5 units has been increased by 8 rupees, while the monthly charge has been increased by 200 rupees. The tariff for 6 to 10 units will be increased by 5 rupees, and the monthly charge will be increased by 185 rupees.
A price of a kilogram of sugar was only reduced by 2 rupees. Dal was reduced by 10 rupees. When they increase, how can we pay this? Where is the money? Will they give us the money as well? We will have to consume poison.
Trade unions charge that though the increase in the water bill is carried out once in every 3 years, this time around the increase has been done because the government has slashed the funds for water projects. The main reason for this is that the government has cut off the capital expenses that should be borne by it for water projects. They have vested this with the water board itself. The loan installments and the interest rates that have to be paid for commercial loans have increased because of this. When the government asks them to operate the board as a commercial institution, the increase in the price of production and the increase in the bill are inevitable. The government should cooperate to some extent when it comes to reducing the gap between production and selling it at an affordable rate for the public. The government cannot absorb itself. We cannot accept that. We increase the bill every 3 years. The maintenance cost has increased. That is why we have made this increase.
Do you believe that the people will be able to bear this expenditure at once? The fact that there is an increase of 300 rupees.
With electricity bills and the telephone bills, I don't think it will be an issue.
Water is essential. A person who earns 100 rupees and a person who earns 1,000 rupees needs water.
We have not increased the water bill for them. We have not increased the bill for the low-income individuals. They can bear that.
If the low-income families consume more than 15 units, then there will be an increase.
I can guarantee that low-income families consume 8 or 9 units of water monthly at the maximum. There are people who use common water sources as well.
There is a 30% wastage of water due to delays in maintenance by the water board.
That is a common factor. This is the same in many countries. We cannot make that zero. We are carrying out steps to reduce it.
What is the expected income through the increase in the tariff?
We expect a 30 to 35% increase.
If the wastage of water is reduced, what will the expected profit be then?
Then it will be approximately 40% if everything is complete.
How long will the board take to control the wastage? Will the board be able to provide some sort of concession to the public with regard to this 30% if the wastage can be reduced?
We continue to provide a concession. We are concerned about the public. This is a country with 101 major rivers that flow to the sea. This is a country that is blessed with many rivers and over 10,000 tanks and reservoirs. The water should be given free of charge. Are the people to wait without drinking water? This is a country that taxes the food and the water. People will have to collect rainwater now. The bill that was at 1,000 will be 1,300 now. If you could manage with 1,000 rupees, will you be able to do it now? Do you know that the budget has made allocations for the money that was swindled and the banks that went bankrupt after taxing the public?
The World Diabetes Day walk was held at Independence Square this morning under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
The theme of the walk, organised by the Sri Lanka College of Endocrinologists and the Epidemiology Unit of the Ministry of Health, was Act Today to Change Tomorrow. The walk was organised in view of the National Diabetes Day, which falls on the 14th of November. The health of the country's population is one of the main measures of a country's development. Therefore, the commitment shown by all of you to advancing health of Sri Lankans through establishing a country free of diabetes is greatly appreciated. President Sirisena also attended a workshop organised by the Government Medical Officers Association for pre-intern doctors. The workshop aimed at improving clinical skills of pre-intern doctors in assessment and management of patients was held at Ananda College, Colombo. The first step to be good doctors or a good public servant is to have mental tranquility. It is very important to have peace of mind in order to be successful. The more we work as mechanical objects who focus only on physical things, what we do would be unsuccessful.
The expenditure on education in the previous budget was estimated by also calculating the value of fixed assets in the education sector, including in schools. Expenditure on education has been reduced by 43% in this budget compared to last year. Considering the allocation made through the budget, it is questionable as to whether the government will be able to optimally implement major projects like the Nearest School is the Best School program. Given that political exigencies have also been made a factor in addition to the criteria for selecting schools for the program, whether the distribution of resources among schools is ideal is also questionable. Darussalam Mahavidyalaya in Maligawatta bears testament to this. Over the past 5 years, this school has seen the most infrastructure development from among schools under the purview of the Western Provincial Council. A notable feature here is that the development, amounting to about 30 million rupees, has not cost the taxpayer or parents of children enrolled at the school. The World Mayman Organization has been the strength behind the infrastructure development at this school. The organization also pays wages for volunteer teachers, non-academic staff and sports coaches. The World Mayman Organization also provides breakfast for 150 underprivileged children at this school. As per the foundation stone laid by the President at this school on the 25th of January, a 4-story building comprising 12 classrooms is to be constructed. The World Mayman Organization has allocated a massive sum of 240 million rupees, including the expenditure for this building, to develop the school over the next 3 years. However, against this backdrop, Darussalam Mahavidyalaya was included in the Nearest School is the Best School program in September this year. The funds allocated for the school through the program amounts to 70 million rupees. The Western Province Minister of Education has informed the Minister of Education in writing that this step would result in the school being deprived of the 240 million rupee development project, which will not be a burden on the taxpayer. Through the letter, the Provincial Education Minister calls on the Cabinet Minister to allocate the 70 million rupees that is to be spent on Darussalam Mahavidyalaya to another underprivileged school in the vicinity. On the surface, this is a fair request. However, as a result of the Line Ministry disregarding this request in favour of what appears to be an attempt to inflate political egos, Darussalam Mahavidyalaya is now at risk of being deprived of a major development drive worth 240 million rupees. Does the foundation stone laid by the head of state have no value? Secretary to the Ministry of Education, over to you.
On to another one of our headline-making stories. A Newsfirst team visiting Anuradhapura came across a situation where villagers faced with the threat of wild elephant incursions have been given a ridiculous responsibility by wildlife officers.
If it was said that an elephant had been killed, the wildlife officers and police would be here first thing in the morning. If anything has happened to us, then it is night by the time they turn up. The wildlife officers have asked us to put paint on the elephant so they can identify it. If we are able to mark the elephant with paint, why would we need the wildlife department? We will pet the elephants, put some paint on it and let it go. They gave us firecrackers and asked us not to light it near the elephant, but to light it closer to where we were. If we are using the firecrackers near us, why is it called an elephant firecracker? Galpottegama in Anuradhapura is now being frequented by elephants from the Wilpattu Reserve. Villagers say that while the elephants constantly encroach on the village, the wildlife officers are finding it troublesome to travel from the town to the village. Over 10 homes have been reduced to ruins as a result of wild elephant attacks.
8 homes have been damaged in Galpottegama and 3 homes have been damaged in Katukam Palayagama. The elephant comes when we are asleep. I have 3 school-going children. The main road is about 3/4 of a kilometre from here. I am unable to give my children breakfast and take them to school by 7 a.m. because we do not know when and where the elephant will strike.
An individual who murdered his wife and 2 daughters in the Kinya area in Trincomalee was arrested by police today.
A 32-year-old woman who lived in Kilikunchimale village and her 8 and 11-year-old daughters were found hacked to death with a sword this morning. The woman who sustained injuries in the attack died upon admission to the Trincomalee General Hospital. The spouse of the woman who committed the murders was arrested by the police while he was hiding inside a room of the same house, while the sword, which is suspected to be the murder weapon, was also seized by the police.
The doors were closed. We heard the sound of a cupboard being broken. Then we knocked on the door, but no one opened it. We went towards the window. Then we saw him with a sword in his hand, and the children were killed. All of us in the village tried to go in through the window, but we couldn't because he had the sword. We called 119, and the police arrived. They couldn't go in either. Then we climbed in through the roof and caught him.
The foundation stone for the 55th Udaga Mana project, which is being constructed under the Samattasavya 7 model village concept, was laid by Minister Sajid Premdasa today.
25 houses will be established in the model village, which is being built in the Siambalagasvilla area in Hambantota. Through the budget this year, we aim to reduce your dependency and improve your capital strength. The moment you have ownership of assets, you can say that you have a land, a house or deed of your own. You can proudly say that you are no longer dependents and you no longer need to be categorized as people who depend on aid.
The club rugby season is well and truly underway, with CRN FC suffering defeat at the hands of Navy SC today. The match worked off at Navy SC's home ground in Balisara. Fans were treated to a competitive first half with a scoreline at 7-6 in favour of Navy SC at Lemons. The Sailors added another 14 points in the second half and restricted CRN FC to 7 points, sealing a 21-13 victory. Navy SC scored 3 tries, duly converted for their 21 points, while the lads from Colombo scored their 13 points through a solitary try, 1 conversion and 2 penalties. Yesterday saw one of the greatest upsets in the recent history of Sri Lanka rugby, with Hill Country giants Kandy SC being defeated by Air Force SC. The Airmen, playing with the home ground advantage in Ratmalana, held off a second half surge by the Candians to claim a 24-21 victory. Anna Vijayaratna, match commissioner at Sri Lanka Rugby, joins us with an analysis of the game.
Regarding the match regarding Air Force playing Kandy had a start-started side, but the defense of the Air Force, Kandy just not going to run that ball, and I think Air Force played an extremely brilliant game to keep Kandy down. And also what we saw was people like Marcha and them, I mean, they were late in coming to the series event. So as soon as he came in, they started scoring. So I think that was the general summary, a very brief summary I can give you. The better side won, and Air Force played an excellent game of rugby.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.